What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the best players for the Baltimore Ravens to be targeting on day 2. My recent video, I was talking about the best wide receivers for the Ravens to target. I'm not going to be talking about the wide receiver position in this video. However, guys that I talked about in that previous video, George Pickens, Christian Watson, those are players that are absolutely, in that conversation for best players for the Ravens to draft. But this is outside of the wide receivers, so let me know who you guys want the Ravens to draft, because there's a lot of players. Whether it's an offensive lineman, if you think we need to go after a tackle, there's players there. Obviously, wide receiver, there's defensive ends, there's linebackers, there's corners. There are plenty of guys out here that the Baltimore Ravens can target in this second round. And secondly, I apologize if there's any background noise. My roommates that I despise are being extremely loud, so I apologize if there's anything. That's why I'm wearing the headphones, so I don't get distracted by different noises and such. But let's get into it. Let's talk about the players that I think the Ravens should absolutely target in this second and third round. They only have 2 picks. However, there's a possibility they trade up some of their 6th, 4th round picks to get into the third round or get up into the second round. But first off, I think the best player for them to target is Arnold Ebiketie, defensive end out of Penn State, which is ironic considering last year we drafted a defensive end out of Penn State. He is an edge rusher that the Ravens could absolutely utilize. Penn State has been putting out great edge rushers. He's a physical, athletic player that can get after the quarterback, and I think that is what the Ravens need right now as their biggest need. They've already worked on the secondary. There's players they can go after in the secondary. I'll get into them, but I think right now the biggest need is edge rusher and wide receiver. And Ebiketie, I think, is going to potentially be the best player available for the Ravens to go after. But if he's gone, I don't think they should reach on another edge rusher. I think he's far and away the best edge rusher for the Ravens to go after in the second round. If he's available, you got to take him. Now, getting into the cornerbacks, there's a couple of guys. One is Andrew Booth. Andrew Booth is a phenomenal cornerback coming out of Clemson. He can play man coverage. He can tackle. He's got decent size. Nothing to blow you away, but he's a really solid cornerback that a lot of people thought would go in the first round. Maybe if he slides a little bit, Ravens could pick him up. Another cornerback potentially is Roger Mccreery, a guy that I loved in mock drafts this year, coming out of Auburn, a press man cornerback that can also play in zone coverage, is very versatile. He's been playing in the SEC. He's been playing extremely well in the SEC. I think he could absolutely be a day 2 stud, a round 2 stud for the Baltimore Ravens to go after. There's obviously other cornerbacks. I'll get into them a little bit later, but one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft is a linebacker out of Montana State University. He is a former quarterback. He was a former all-conference quarterback. Then he transferred over to linebacker. He ended up becoming an all-conference linebacker. That man's name is Troy Anderson, the most athletic interior linebacker in the history of the NFL Draft Combine. He's a freak athlete, ran a 4.3 40-yard dash, incredible instincts, and the benefit is he would be able to sit behind Patrick Queen, sit behind Malik Harrison, sit behind Josh Bynes, and learn from Mike Macdonald, a former linebackers coach, now obviously the defensive coordinator, Zachary Orr, a former all-pro linebacker at the NFL level, and he would be able to learn, get better, and improve and utilize and eventually maximize that potential that he has, because he has some of the highest potential ever at the linebacker position. The issue is he's not there yet. So drafting him could be a player to say, hey, one, he would be phenomenal on special teams. His size, his athleticism, he can tackle. He's got good instincts. He would be phenomenal on special teams, but also you could get him out on the field on certain looks, and he would just be a freak of nature athlete that could get out there and make plays. The Ravens have been going towards that freak of nature athlete, in recent drafts. Obviously, Odafe Owe, the big name. They just went with Kyle Hamilton, freak of nature. So the Ravens are really trying to build up that front seven as, very athletic as that running back core. And again, I apologize. I hate my roommates. Whatever. I'm going to keep going on this video. I sincerely do apologize. But at cornerback, though, there is my favorite player for the Baltimore Ravens to draft. I don't know if he's my favorite player still, because the Ravens drafting Kyle Hamilton is most likely going to mean that Brandon Stephens is switching into a slot cornerback position on the depth charts. But I still do love Marcus Jones as a cornerback for the Ravens to target, because Marcus Jones, as a potential third-round pick, the best return man in this class, one of the best return prospects ever. And obviously he has great ball skills. He's physical. He's 5'8", but he's very physical. He attacks in the run game. He is not a liability when you run at him. When you were trying to block him, it is difficult. Yeah, he's small, but he's very feisty, similar to Tyrann Mathieu in that sense. And then obviously when he has the ball in his hand, he's played offense. He played offense at the University of Houston because he was so explosive with the ball in his hands. Reverses, end arounds, jet sweeps, all those types of things he was able to do because he's just so dynamic with the ball in his hands. So I think that Marcus Jones could absolutely be a weapon for the Baltimore Ravens to target in potentially the 3rd round. But there's a ton of other guys. I'll get into some other guys, that we could potentially get in the 3rd round. A guy like Brandon Smith, another Penn State linebacker, freak athlete. That's what he's bringing as a, an interior linebacker rather than an outside linebacker. Add him to the core. He could be a really good guy too. He's a little bit more polished than a guy like Troy Anderson, but his potential is not as high. So I still like Troy Anderson a little bit more. The Ravens could obviously then go with David Ojabo. David Ojabo was linked to the Baltimore Ravens before he ended up tearing his Achilles at his pro day at the University of Michigan. Obviously, he was a projected 1st-round pick. A lot of people said he was going 14 to the Baltimore Ravens. He was the most popular pick to the Ravens prior to that injury. Then it became Jordan Davis and Trevor Penning. Well, he's now going to be available in that 2nd round. Hopefully, he's available at 45. David Ojabo could be a very good selection. Yes, he's coming off of an injury. It could take a little bit of time for him to be able to get out on that field, but he's a phenomenal player. He would be reuniting with his defensive coordinator that took him from a maybe day 2, probably day 3 prospect into a day 1 certified pass rusher. He'd be working with that guy once again. And he would be able to get him back to form. Mike McDonald knows exactly how to use him. I think he could be a very valuable pick. If Ebiketie is gone, that's the biggest thing. Like right there, being able to get someone that the Ravens definitely really liked. Unfortunately, it's a Michigan guy, which the Ravens have not had the best of luck, especially with, defensive ends, out of Michigan. Chris Wormley, I believe, was the most recent one the Ravens drafted. Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They now have him. I don't know if he's still on there. Another player is Travis Jones is a player I made a video about because I think he has the potential to be the best defensive tackle in this class. He can rush the passer at DT. He's a great run stuffer. Very good athlete. He's not a Jordan Davis level athlete, but he did run a sub-5 40-yard dash as a nose tackle. He could be a very good piece for the Baltimore Ravens to target. So, those are kind of the players that I've looked at that I think the Ravens could absolutely target and should target in the 2nd round outside of the wide receivers that I've already talked about in the other video. But guys, let me know who you guys want the Ravens to target. Let me know how you feel the Ravens draft is going, and make sure to hit the subscribe button down below because I'm coming out with so much content during this draft weekend. And I will see all of you again tonight with the Ravens 1st pick, unless another video, I just, come up with an idea for another video. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see all of you again then with hopefully another